Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
Celebrating 9 years of podcast excellence, the King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Okay, I'm not going to take much time about this. We're talking about the Survivor Series post show here on the Wrestling is Real podcast, episode 736. King of Podcasts here with you. Thanks for listening in, subscribing where you do. From TD Garden in Boston, tonight we had the show, and within it, 5 matches on the card, 2 other WarGames matches, both going roughly about 40 minutes each. And when you look at what they're doing, I'll put it like this. I feel like there's opportunities being given here where I feel like an NXT type of feel, the black and gold NXT type of feel, is very prominent here on this show. Except for a couple matches. I mean, obviously, when I think about the teams that are put together and what they're doing, okay, there's something to be said about where Triple H has certain people he wants to try to position and push and do things with, but also like he knows how to have to, do some proper booking with them. So when it comes to Team Belair against Team Bayley, and you're looking at the matches they have for this, same thing with Shotzi getting the shot with Ronda Rousey. It's like Shotzi gets the shot here after the title. Yeah, she won it in fashion, so she can be in this match. But like the turnaround for Shotzi to be able to be in this match and be put up here. The difference is where Liv Morgan was the person that Vince would have chosen, which he did, to go up against Ronda Rousey and use the Money in the Bank briefcase and win and cash in and beat her again after that. And with Shotzi was such a non-factor under Vince. They took the tank away from her. They took everything else away from her. With Triple H, Shotzi gets to work out there with Raquel Rodriguez. Oh, look, she gets the tank back. Oh, look at that. All of that part coming back in. And Shotzi gets a title shot. Smart didn't give her the win, but like Shotzi got her chance. And I feel like that's what's going on now. It's like, okay, the people of NXT, the loyal people to Triple H, they're getting their chance. Like I wouldn't have been surprised if Johnny Gargano would have a chance, because now they're giving him a chance to go and shine. And you look at Karrion Kross, he's getting a chance to shine. It's his people. But there's nothing behind what they are. It's like it's just another NXT storyline that's kind of leading them there. The first thing we saw out there with, Bianca Belair, and the difference they had that Becky Lynch was part of this match as the final participant they mentioned on Friday Night SmackDown. So Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Mia Yim, and Becky Lynch against Team Bayley, which is Damage Controls, Bayley, Dakota Kai, Io Sky, Nikki Cross, and Rhea Ripley. Now, those 5 folks over on Team Bayley, it's a lot of NXT faithful right there. Unlike the other side. I just feel like there's something more of a attention to, okay, so Dakota coming back, Io coming back, Nikki finally getting a refresh of her gimmick, more like Sanity and not the superhero character. And Rhea Ripley also becoming more of her own character and something better than My Brutality, now stretching out into the Judgment Day character, which is honestly, Rhea Ripley is the focal of Judgment Day. She's the best reason for Judgment Day to happen because she overshadows Finn Balor, Damian Priest. Dominic and Rhea are the focus on Judgment Day. And that's what it is. Like, I don't see Finn Balor as like the leader here. Not so much. He's the talker in it, but it's like with Finn Balor, Triple H was already doing a thing of trying to like, okay, we're not doing the demon with him anymore. But we still need to have Finn Balor, like they're just right. They brought him back down. Finn Balor went back down to NXT, right? Reposition him, go back down, working against, Undisputed Era and all that stuff going on. 1917's his new move and all of that. Like they want They wanted him to give more of the character that he wanted to be, change kind of his style, and just be different. And they're basically keeping the same character that Finn Balor was in Judgment Day. Meanwhile, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley kind of fit more of the Judgment Day storyline, and Dominic is just like a hanger-on because of Rhea. So there's that part. But it's like, you can see who's positioned, who's like the focal points, who are the people that are being focused on, right? So you go into this, and so the fact that, Finn Balor's brought into this, and they give him and AJ a 18-minute match. Those guys are going to really do good. That's fine. But they are doing a little bit of a parody booking because they wanted to have the OC finally get the win here because AJ Styles got the win. And then I look at, well, Austin Theory is a different story. But it's like a couple of these storylines for WarGames, they had to do what they were going to do. Like using the Judgment Day storyline against the OC, using the damage control against Bianca's team or trio storyline, that was intertwined here. And then Shotzi just being the next culprit for the next, victim for Ronda Rousey, that was how she was used here. Otherwise, the Bloodline stuff, that's kind of like what Vince already had started, and things are just kind of being continuous from there. And then a change where Austin Theory and a booking decision to, first of all, have him lose the Money in the Bank briefcase, cash in, but then get a rematch, get in a triple threat, and beat both Seth freaking Rollins and Bobby Lashley. Where it comes from. I just saying, okay, with Team Belair and Team Bayley, the idea was Becky Lynch, she gets the pin. Got it. I mean, the ending is what matters to me in both matches. Were they good? Yeah. But it's like, the WarGames thing is long, it's a bit contrived, and I'm like, yeah, we've seen what NXT has done with it, and that's okay. The people like it. But it's like, the gimmick was fine. Like, you could have done a regular 5-on-5, it would have been fine as well, but I think what they did here with this match in WarGames was fine. The format's exactly how you're supposed to be. That's all fine. The weapons, it's like everybody else. Some of the moves that need to happen with, Sky has to go and moonsault off the top of the cage and all this kind of stuff, right? You have all these things that are kind of a customary. And, very NXT-like to see the WarGames matches. We know that for sure. So Becky Lynch getting the pin. Establishing her again now in a role so they can actually do something now with her where she's going to have to be prominent going forward because she's going to be back in the title picture again. And so we could see a thing where Bayley, Bianca, and Becky now are in that mix to deal with that. Meanwhile, Damage Control will still have their deal with either Asuka or Alexa Bliss, or if Mia Yim's part of this. And then Mia Yim and Rhea Ripley still have their own individual thing with their respective factions. And Nikki Cross is also in the mix. So, like, honestly, there's 4 women right there that you could have that are kind of vying for the Raw Women's title. I think Nikki Cross gets thrown in that mix because she's a wild card with Bianca Belair, Bayley, and Becky Lynch. But the other thing, too, is there's also the same people on that roster that are there. So, it's fine, but I think that's what they're going to do here. Like, I feel that's something we have to look at and what they're going to do down the line. I don't know. So, AJ Styles wins over Finn Balor. Great. And, they had some plunder out there outside the ring, but nothing affecting the match itself. They kept the match very pure itself. And AJ wins. Shotzi, they gave in a lot of offense for her, and she was able to go and do some things where she was able to neutralize Shayna and Ronda. But eventually, Ronda comes back, she finishes her off. Kind of a very textbook kind of finish for Ronda Rousey to do a match like this. It was kind of like just a glorified squash. But, hey, Shotzi gets a rub here, and they want to build that character up, but she's not ready to be a title holder. Of course, not be ready to beat Ronda. So I mean, there's a thing where Ronda probably wanted to like say, well, I'll work with her. Let's go and, enhance her more as a talent. So they're making it a little more important. She got up to a title shot. Now, will she get back there again? We'll find out sometime. 15 minutes for the Austin Theory win for the U.S. title. And the story of where he lost the briefcase and then he comes back and now he's this new Austin Theory. And, Bobby Lashley was like just wanting to pound everybody down for what happened to him. And Seth Rollins being the person was kind of like the culprit here where Bobby Lashley snapped in the first place after losing the belt to Seth freaking Rollins. I don't know. Like what they decided to do here and they put things together. I'm like, all right, that's fine. But Austin Theory gets the pin, takes the belt, and now he's back with the belt. So what are we going to do with him next? Because they didn't really do much with him in that U.S. title in the first place. That first title run was not impressive. So they've done this quick adjustment to his character. Is this going to be something more we're going to get out of this? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Not much there. Not much there. But the story of the night, more than anything else, was that men's Survivor Series match. So the storyline that simply more or less mattered on the Tonight Show was Sami Zayn and the possible rift that was being created by Kevin Owens. So the fact that Sami Zayn might betray the Bloodline. That's the story they wanted to tell. And to think of this whole story, man, like Roman Reigns has been doing his thing 800 plus days as champ. They're not doing anything about that storyline. It's all on autopilot. The Usos, 400 plus days as tag team champions. That storyline is also autopilot. They're not doing anything until WrestleMania season about either of those titles right there. So those are kind of just muted. They're just not in the ether right now at all. And which just sucks. Because okay. Roman Reigns had his match with Logan Paul. Okay. One of those matches that almost coulda, shoulda, right? Logan Paul could have had his chance, but Roman Reigns is going to be ultimately the winner. New Day had a chance at the Usos, but ultimately they were going to win anyway. Brawling Brutes had their chance. Like, there's just unbeatable things right now with the Bloodline. There is no plan on having a group that's going to ultimately take the Bloodline down. We don't have one. They need to find one. Like, seriously, we need another faction that's going to go up against the Bloodline. They don't have anybody right now that's built for that. I don't expect Legado of the Fantasma or Hit Row or nothing like that. Like, who are you going to have right now that's going to ultimately go after the Bloodline team for team? See, like with Judgment Day and OC, we have matching teams. With Damage Control, Bianca, Asuka, and Alexis and Asuka, they got a matchup, 3-on-3, 3-on-3, whatever. Right? Well, Legado of the Fantasma, I guess they have, I don't know if they have a group yet, but like, Brawling Brutes. There's that group. It's like there's things you got with them, or like with Imperium, there's a 3-man group. There's all these factions that are here, but there's not one faction strong enough to take on Bloodline. And Bray Wyatt's on his own right now. We don't know what's going to go on with that. And now people want to say that Uncle Howdy might be Randy Orton undisguised. I don't know if we're going to get that or not, but Bloodline has no answer. Now, as long as there's no Bloodline answer, they can only focus on mid-card. And that's where I feel about the product now anyway. There is nothing main event to worry about. Nothing in main event to really matter. Like the women's titles right now, they feel like mid-card belts. Do I feel like it's a real prestige by the fact that Bianca Belair has held the belt for so long? I guess I should. Like she's been the belt holder for a while now, right? So I guess you could say that. And so right now, she's the current Raw Women's Champion. And I'm saying to myself, okay, when I look at the championship now with her, okay, she's currently 234 plus days as champ. So it's a strong reign. And before that was Becky Lynch, 162 days. So like, there's one thing to be said about that. They have long reigns as champion now. That's only happened since last year. after the pandemic. Now we actually have some good lengthy reigns. And that's what's going on right now. So the Raw Women's title has quite a bit of prestige. When I look at the SmackDown Women's title, I don't know so much. Maybe. But when I look at right now that, Ronda Rousey's got the belt back. And it's just like she should be the person that holds it for right now. Great. But what we're dealing with right now with the Roman Reigns, Usos, Bloodline storyline is a tertiary part of the storyline, the third storyline, the third arc, right? The fourth would be Solo Sikoa and his entrance into the faction to prove himself, which you've already basically worked that out. So now we're with Sami Zayn. He's the storyline. They're using him as the caveat now to bring the bloodline up, but otherwise, nothing in the storyline has anything to do with who's going to take on Roman Reigns for that title at Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. I mean, if The Rock comes back, he can't just go by himself and go after the bloodline. He needs some other people to be on his side to be able to go. There needs to be a coalition for him of baby faces to attack the bloodline. So are we waiting for that? Or is there somebody else they're going to go after instead that's going to be that role? Because I don't know. And I'm trying to figure it out. But at the moment, there is no answer. There's nothing here that says they're going to figure out best course of action. And don't get me wrong, Sami Zayn's been a great part of the storyline. They've been doing a lot with him. But he's not winning any belts. And, I mean, listen, for Sami Zayn for doing what he did, the whole conspiracy theory thing they had under Vince, and then being incorporated in the storyline here with the bloodline has been fantastic. Because it's been such a odd man out, and it's worked so well. And the way that Jimmy Uso finally kind of gave in, and when Sami Zayn proved himself, betrayed Kevin Owens, and more so, and then gives Jimmy Uso the chance to take the win and claim the victory for the bloodline. Great storytelling. My problem is the main event is still being neglected. We have nothing right now to go after these belts. We don't have nobody right now to go after these belts. We need prominent names right now where they need to break up those belts at some point. Because even if we're just going to have like people that are going to go up against Roman Reigns or the Usos, they got to figure something out because somebody has to be able to go and win. And then there's no other belts to go after. So what do you do now? This is the part that bothers me. Like, I want to figure out an answer here, but we don't have a good answer for all this. And that's the problem. That's where WWE has my problem. There is nothing main event in anything doing in their product, except for the fact that Roman Reigns will go out with the storyline with the bloodline, and he'll go out and talk about, oh, smash this guy. But other than that, they're one-offs. There's no regular feuds for anybody right now. And of the people they brought back, the Braun Strowmans, the Bray Wyatts, are any of them going after Roman Reigns and winning off of him? No. They don't have a plan on who's going to take Roman Reigns' belt. They're going to just let this keep going. They don't have a plan as to who comes in and ultimately beats the tribal chief. They don't have a plan for that. They're going to just keep milking it dry until it becomes too much. But then again, nobody's going to get tired of it. But the idea is we don't have anything main event at all going on with anybody. And I'm not saying we have to have something main event just for the sake of it. It's just that how are we building these other stars without a main event belt to go after and seek and to claim? We don't have anything like that. What do we do now? There is no plan whatsoever. Triple H doesn't have that plan. I don't know where you go next to make that possible. Those mind-boggling things is going to keep me figuring out for the next few weeks on this show. The main event problem has not been solved. I mean, they have found ways to figure out stopgaps here, to get through Crown Jewel, to get through Survivor Series, great. But what do you have next? What happens after this? What do you do next to kind of figure things out so that we can get some credible opponents and some people that are going to get built up and pushed to the moon that they can be legitimate? Like, Bobby Lashley, he loses again. What's next for him? When it comes to Drew McIntyre, his team was on the losing end and there's not much for him either. The Royal Rumble, for instance. I mean, you can have some of these current stars win the Rumble match and get the title shot. But it's almost definite that right there, that Royal Rumble win, entitling you to a title shot against Roman Reigns ultimately, it's not going to work. You can't go back and do another secondary title. You can't go after the U.S. title after that. I mean, you could, but that doesn't sound good. Or the NXT title, you don't want to do that either. There's nobody at NXT ready to come on up and take on Roman Reigns. There's nobody out there in free agency that can go on and take on Roman Reigns. And the current roster doesn't have anybody right now in their current build. Because Triple H is not pushing anyone to become a main eventer right now. There is not anyone. Like real, solid main eventer for a long time. Because remember, in NXT, the different story is that you build stars and then they become champions. But for a short amount of time anyway, because they're eventually going to get called up. But the main roster is a different story. This is the disconnect I think Triple H has. Because in NXT, once somebody hit that main event, that means they're going to be off and running to the next chapter of their career in the main roster. But the main roster is here. So you just can't do that normal main event feel now. You have to figure something out. I don't think you could do that with the current setup. There's nobody being set up and built up so strong to do that. Karrion Kross is not. Bray Wyatt is not. Maybe down the line, but I don't think so. Riddle is not. He's now working with Elias. Austin Theory was the chosen one. Now he's at the U.S. title again. Gunther, I don't know if he's at that spot either. If they're going to move him up to go up against Roman Reigns. I don't know. Cody could come back for Royal Rumble. They might not even go back to him and Seth Rollins again. They might just do that confrontation at Royal Rumble. And Cody could win. You can go Cody and Roman. You could do that because Cody already comes in as a main eventer. Getting any help from the company. The company needs to make sure that they positioned him as a main eventer off the bat and keep him there, which is what they're doing now. But after Cody, who else is there? There's no answer here. There's no answer at all here. This is what I'm contending with. And I know people are going to just jump on the bandwagon and be happy for NXT and the black and gold and seeing that kind of thrive once again here. Sure. But that's not what I want for this company. This company, I have the same complaint like I did with Vince. You need larger than life characters. You need these superhero types. The ones we've talked about right now were like, yeah, they're going to be wanted by the movie industry, by the TV industry. They're going to be larger than life, and they're also going to be not just on wrestling. I can very well see where Becky Lynch gets the belt back sometime around Royal Rumble. Like I can see where there's a three-way Bianca, Bayley, and Becky, and there you go, triple threat it, and Becky wins the belt back. Ronda, there's no answer for who's going to take on her and be any different. Unless you go to Charlotte. Because Charlotte could very well much come back around Royal Rumble time or next year at the start of the year. We'll see her come back. And then what? We're not getting anything new here, anything fresh, anything compelling. Like there's always been times where WWE's been able to take certain stars, especially Attitude Era, repackage them, repurpose them, and then still make them somewhat main event or just change their gimmick a bit to continue to evolve the character. Well, that hasn't happened yet either. There's no real good answer. But the main event is still being neglected. And Survivor Series proved that a lot. It's a decent Big Four pay-per-view. It's the weakest of the others. And they did it. They accomplished what they wanted with WarGames. Okay, that's good. That's nice. Any real storylines coming out of that? No, not really. Continuation of feuds? Probably. The same ones we've been seeing for a while. That's all I got to say about that. That's my Survivor Series post-show. So take that and smoke it. We're going to come back Wednesday. And we'll see what the fallout is from this. And we might start doing the year in wrestling. I'll figure that out by that point. But until then, come back for another Wrestling is Real podcast. Because wrestling needs us.
Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast. You can find all previous episodes at WrestlingIsReal.com or subscribe to the show on all major podcast outlets, including Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at King of Podcasts, and search King of Podcasts on YouTube, or type youtube.com/JBRASCO951. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.